So what is it? It is a global health problem, and it is basically any condition that constricts or restricts your ability to function in your daily activity. Thinking of the definition, what is it? It is not only what a person experiences, but it is an interaction between a person with disability or a person who has any health condition and his personal or environmental factors. Now, personal factors may be anything about loss of motivation. It may also be a depression which a person can face, and environmental factors may be the surrounding physical, social environment which may restrict a person's participation. So it may be inaccessible transportation, inaccessible public buildings, or even limited social supports. So this is the need and objective of your curriculum, for which we are here to talk about disability. So you have to recognize that disabled are not disabled, but they are differently abled. I think after that Amir Khan's movie, there was a lot of understanding about disability. However, still it's like the understanding is more about learning disabilities, autism. Locomotor disabilities are still facing a lot of problems in our social setup. So it is important that you all develop skills and attributes like you rightly said, and you develop an empathy towards these patients. So they do not want sympathy, they want empathy. So just introducing basically what happened was, the United Nations came up with this Convention for Rights of Persons with Disability in 2006, and we can proudly say that India was among the first major nations to ratify this convention, and accordingly we incorporated these directions in the 2016 RPWD Act. We know what RPWD Act is? It's a Right of Persons with Disability Act. Okay? So that act talks a lot about what people with disability they can get during the work or during their education. Okay. So what does United Nations Convention say? They say that people with disability are those who have long-term physical, mental, intellectual or sensory impairments, which in interaction with various barriers may hinder their full and effective participation on an equal basis with others. Like I said, we do not want them to get rights because they should feel that they are special. We want them to feel that they are part of everything. So they say that it recognizes that disability is something which evolves. It is impairment which is stationary, but disability is something which evolves. We will come to these terms later. And it is an interaction between person and environment. It hinders their full and effective participation. And very important, there is a need to recognize, the need to promote and protect human rights of all the persons with disability. It is important that you recognize that they have their own autonomy, they have their own independence, they have a freedom to make their own choices. Not that because they are disabled, you need not decide for them. They should be allowed to do that. And you should also recognize that they have an equal access to the entire physical, social and cultural environment around them, so that they can have a good access to health as well as education, and they should be able to equally participate with everyone else. So what are their rights? Their rights are, there should be equality, non-discrimination. Women and children should enjoy equal rights, because in a country like India, it is observed that the rights of the disability needs of women are taken lesser seriously than those of men. So this is very important. It is included in the Act. They should have a right to live within the community. So now you are seeing changes in your social structure, right? You go to malls, you see a disabled friendly toilet. You see a ramp. You see an escalator, but you also see a lift. Okay, so there are changes, but we still have a further way to go. There is equal protection from abuse, violence, and exploitation. This can occur when you have a physically disabled child who may face abuse. You may have a mentally handicapped child who may face abuse. Even now we hear of many centers wherein there is a physical abuse to inmates of a center, inmates who are mentally challenged. So all these are included under the Rights of Persons with Disability Act. They also talk about accessibility in voting and access to justice. So all these things are similarly included in the RPWD Act, which is the Right for Persons with Disability Act, wherein they say that in addition to this, it is important that the government should take steps to utilize the capacity of persons with disability so that there is an appropriate environment. What do you mean by that? It is the need that government takes steps, that there are ramps installed, the buses are accessible, the trains are accessible. So all this has to be included in the Act. And very important, no one should be deprived of his or her personal liberty on the ground of disability. What I have written in red is very important because they do face a lot of abuse, they do face a lot of exploitation. We are probably staying in Mumbai, we are staying in one of the cities which is quite advanced and which has progressed. But if you really go to the villages, you go to rural areas, or you go to lesser fortunate nations or places, you still see that people with disability are left in one corner of the house. They do not have access to education. And because of this, how will they progress if you are not giving them all the facilities for progressing well? It is also important that if a child has disability, the child need not be separated from the parents just because he has disability, unless it is in the best interest of the child. And no person with disability should be subjected to any medical procedure which leads to infertility. Okay, this is very common in people who are mentally subnormal, who are inmates. So initially there have been cases where these people have been subjected to sterilization procedures. So that is not done without the consent. Regarding education, which is important, we should know that the government should take steps so that they facilitate inclusive education. There is a need to provide books and learning materials and appropriate assistive devices to students with benchmark disabilities. So we will come to that, but just I wanted to ask, is anyone aware of what you mean by benchmark disability? No? So it is what I spoke about, the legal disability. So you need a particular percentage of disability to be able to avail these rights that the government has put forth under the RPWD Act. So this is 40% and this is what is benchmark disability. So below 40% you cannot avail the rights. Yes? We will come to that. Good question. So it is also important that government provides scholarships in appropriate cases to these students with benchmark disabilities and make suitable modifications in curriculum to meet the needs of the students with disabilities. So it is something like getting extra time in exam, exemption from certain subjects. You must be aware of this regarding learning disability, right? So they are given exemption, they are given extra time in exam because they are at a disadvantage. Regarding employment, we just covered education, right? So regarding employment, they also, this is all about the Act. The Act says that you cannot discriminate against any person with disability in matters related to employment, nor can you reduce their rank if the person gets disability during the service. And again, it is necessary that a barrier-free environment is created for these patients. Okay. So regarding vacancies, it is meant there is always a vacancy of 4%. The reservation of 4% is kept by the government for people with benchmark disabilities. Okay, so this 4% is different from the calculation. So once a person is diagnosed with, is given benchmark disability certification, this person can avail of 4% benefits in government establishments, and government has to also ensure that there is an effective participation in sporting activities for patients with disabilities. Again, this is about the act, so they can gain some reservation in agriculture and housing facilities. There is also a 5% reservation in various developmental schemes and to reduce poverty. There is again a 5% reservation when it comes to allotment of land. So you must have heard about these patients who get those stalls, those phone stalls which were there earlier. So this is all patients who have this benchmark disability can avail of such benefits and many more which are there under the Act. And again, there is also a reservation in higher education. You as students need not remember these percentages. This is just to sensitize you that there is a facility for reservation for people with benchmark disability. May it come to allotment of land. There is also some sort of benefit that they get. They get some tax exemption. So it might make you wonder, why so many benefits? So just one simple example that I want to give you because of my experience with dealing with these disabled patients. So if I have to travel by train, I can take any local transport that is there. Okay, but probably, I'm not saying will, but probably someone who is wheelchair bound compulsorily has to take his or her car. Okay. For me, I may need a recurring expense on my footwear. But someone who has a locomotor disability has a recurring expenditure on the orthoses that he or she may have to wear. Okay, so this is just an example. That person may need to spend more on the regular visits to the physician or regular certification process. This is all in addition to the frustration that the person may have because the person is disabled. Okay, so all these facilities that are provided to them are not more. So this is something that you need to provide to them because you want them to be equal and at par with everyone who has no disability. Okay. Okay, so general guidelines. So I think we will start answering your question now. So whenever this disability evaluation is done, okay, so someone asked me, right, how you evaluate. So this evaluation is done as per government guidelines. So time to time government publishes a Gazette of India. There is a notification. So for those who are really interested, the latest one was a 2018 notification. So the Gazette of India 2018. So you can just put in the keywords Gazette of India Disability 2018 and you will get it on Google. So these Gazette comes with certain guidelines for evaluation of people with disability. So it is not that if I had a fracture today, now suppose I have a fracture. So I cannot get a permanent disability today and avail all the benefits. So if I have a fracture in my lower extremity, I may get a temporary disability which may help me to get certain, I am audible without this also. So which may help to get certain benefits such as leave from work or some sort of light duty. But if I want to avail the government, the facilities put forth by the RPWD Act of 2016, then I need to have this certification. So when is this certification done? It is done after the time that your clinical condition has reached a state of maximum improvement from medical or therapy treatment. Okay, this is determined by the treating physician that this disability is sort of stagnant now, or if at all it will progress, it will not improve. Whenever you calculate disability, there is an elaborate calculation which we as therapists do. So they say that your disability calculation, now suppose I have the disability calculation gives 80, 90 or 100% to each extremity. So if I have two extremities disability, it should not be calculated as 100 plus 100. The Gazette gives a beautiful formula based on which your calculation when combined comes to not more than 100. So your calculation should never be more than 100. Your disability cannot exceed 100% and it should never be expressed as a fraction. The minimal disability that is required to avail any benefits is 40%. Okay? This PWD talks about persons with disability. So again a part of the Gazette, there are 8 major, we will not go into details of this, don't worry. So there are 8 major categories of disability that are put forth in this Gazette, which talks about locomotor, visual, hearing, neurological conditions, blood-related disorders, developmental disorders such as cerebral palsy, mental illness, which may talk about IQ levels, and multiple disabilities, because I may have 2 disabilities. I may have visual as well as locomotor. So it gives you guidelines for all these and it has covered 21 disabilities. Now 21 disabilities means not 21 diagnoses, 21 types of disabilities. So a locomotor disability may include paraplegia, may include fractures, okay, and may include spinal problems, it may include scoliosis, low back pain, fracture of the vertebrae and everything, okay. When you certify, you cannot have a private practitioner certifying disability. For purpose of availing benefits, it has to be done in a government institution. So there is a board which comprises of a chief medical officer or a civil surgeon or a medical superintendent. In situations such as our setups, we may have the dean or the assistant dean or someone who has been nominated for this purpose. For disability, you will, for musculoskeletal and locomotor, you will have a specialist in physical medicine and rehabilitation. And then there is also a chief medical officer which is nominated for disability. Yeah, I feel if someone is not interested, you can leave. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I will give you the attendance. Because what happens is, it may disturb someone who really wants to attend. Okay, so I am okay with it. If it's attendance, and I will give you the attendance. Okay, with that we will come to this. So, we have these terms such as impairment, disability and handicap. So, I just want, do you think these terms are synonymous? Yes? Feel. Anyone who feels these are not synonymous? Yes? So, can you just tell me what you understand by that? Yeah, that's one part to it. Good, good. Anyone else? Yes? Yes, good. I'm impressed because... Very good. I'm impressed because this answer has not come from previous batches. Anyone else? Yes? Right. First part is right, second part is not completely right. We'll have one more and then we can... Yes? go with this answer, what he gave. So impairment talks about the condition. Okay, so I have a fracture, impaired. Disability talks about the functional deficits that I have because of impairment. So because I have a amputation, okay, let's take amputation. Fracture has become too common an example. So I had amputation, so I am impaired. My lower extremity is amputated. Then the disability may be because my lower extremity is amputated, I am not able to walk, or I am not able to go to the toilet or squat down. And a handicap is a larger context. Okay, so means because I had an amputation, because I am not able to walk, I cannot enjoy a movie with my friends. I cannot go out for parties. I cannot go out to the garden and walk because the garden does not have a pathway for me to walk well. Okay, so yes, amputation is a surgical removal of a limb. Okay, so if I have an amputation, means the limb is cut. So it may be at different parts. Okay, I like that. If you don't know something, you ask. It takes that himmat to ask. It's a good habit. Okay, so giving the spinal cord injury example, we talk about impairment as the injury to the spinal cord, the vertebral fracture, the spinal injury. Disability is the paraplegia which has occurred because of which I cannot walk, and handicap is participation. Okay, so here we talk about disability gazette, evaluation, disability. Now this is something that is a more recent concept per se. So here in our setup we are very much about the medical model of disability. Okay, so what do you mean about medical model? Here we see what is wrong with the person, we just treat it. Not always do we ask what the person needs. Okay, so it is like आपको means maybe in your field we just talk about अगर आपको बुखार है दवाई ले लो जाओ. Okay, but we do not look at the person in a larger or complete concept. Okay, the other, this is a social model of disability which does not talk about medical model. So if I am wheelchair bound, the medical model will tell that अरे इसको paraplegia है, ये wheelchair bound है. That's why he is not able to go around. The social, you will find me giving a lot of locomotor examples. Sorry about it, but I am a musculoskeletal person. So it's that what comes naturally to me. Okay. So the social model of disability talks about, it's not a problem that this person is wheelchair bound. It is, there is no ramp. There is no, the bus is not accessible. The theater is not accessible. Okay. So these two models are two extremes. No model is complete by itself. What is more important is a combination of both the models. So the example that I just spoke about, it came naturally. Okay? So no model is complete by itself. What is more important is a biopsychosocial model. So WHO came up with this biopsychosocial model. In 1980, there was initially something known as ICIDH, which talked about the International Classification of Impairment, Disability and Handicap, which was then revised in 2001, which talked more about functionality and function, wherein they talk about ICF, which is the International Classification of Functioning for health and health-related domains. They talk about this being a common language of understanding between the physician, the therapist, the patient, the social worker, and all the people involved in the rehab team. So here they talk about different categories in which they say that you have something which is known as body structures and functions and activities and participation. So body structures talk about the structures of the human body, and body functions talk about the physiological functions. Activities and participation is something which is very close to me as a therapist, because because of the impairment, or I would not say impairment, because of a health condition of the body structures and function, a person cannot participate in daily activities and cannot do their activities as a normal human being. So this is just the model that ICF has put forth. They talk about health condition, not much of an impairment, and they talk about each of these factors, including the environmental factors and the personal factors. Like we talked about environment being the physical, social environment affecting a person with impairment, leading to two extremes of disability and function. Okay. So they say that disability is about impairment, disability and participation restrictions, whereas when you talk about function, it is more about how you participate in spite of your health related problems. So they talk about when you have disability, it is because of interaction between negative attitudes and limited social supports. So why did this come? Initially, there was an understanding that if you had disability, you are in a separate category. Now, the focus is more on health, and that is why the inclusion has come up. So they say that disability can happen to anyone and not a select few, and it is important that you include them with the other persons. Why this classification came up with that, ICF understands that no two people with the same health condition are same. So I may have two people with a stroke. Let's go on to neuro now. I may have two people who have stroke and who have paralysis of the entire upper extremity. Both may have the same lesion in the brain. Both may have the same spasticity level. But are those two people the same when it comes to performance of function? Not necessarily, right? How does that differ? The functioning of those two people may differ depending upon the exercise which one person may be receiving, or it may differ upon his mental, psychological status, the environment around him. Okay, so one person may be a laborer, the other person may be a computer professional. So, given the same impairment, the same disability, the level of handicap is different in both the individuals. A person who is an amputee in an urban area may receive a good prosthesis, may receive a wheelchair, because of which he may move around. But a person in a rural area who is living in a hutment on a hillock, so amputation or any paraplegia or any locomotor disability becomes devastating for that person. Okay? So that is why you cannot have a medical model only to diagnose or understand the needs of the disabled people. So now we have to understand that there is a shift from the pure medical model to a biopsychosocial model where environmental factors are taken into consideration, the needs are taken into consideration. This can also help you understand what social reforms are necessary and what healthcare and disability costs are undertaken. So why do you need to study more and more about this disability? Because the magnitude of disability has increased. There is the communicable illnesses, morbidity has decreased, but because of industrialization, because of increase in dairy population, because of urbanization, because of occupational accidents, maybe because of sedentary lifestyles, there is a lot of increase in illness due to non-communicable diseases. That is why this sort of disability is now increasing as compared to the communicable disease illness. And we need to adopt a preventive model of disability wherein you need to take a primary, secondary and tertiary prevention. Primary prevention is more in your hands, wherein you identify the problem at its grassroots level. Secondary and tertiary prevention is more in your as well as our hands, wherein we reduce the manifestation of the impairment and disability so that it does not become a full-blown handicap. Okay. So coming to this, I want to tell you what you should do when you deal with patients with disability, and this is what is most important to you at this stage. You emphasize the individual, not the disability. Okay. So you refer to the patient. So they say, don't talk about, my stroke patient. Okay. It's a better way of referring to this is patient ABC who has a hemiplegia. Okay. So the person feels you are understanding him and not the impairment. It's better, and this is more for us because we see these patients more frequently than you do. So you emphasize what are their abilities. So whatever ability the patient has, you try to maximize the function with that sort of ability. So use appropriate terminology. Don't use slow learners. Don't use terms like, "Arey wo burns wala patient," "Arey wo acid attack." Don't use that. Okay? Because we never realize, we just talk about it. Every time we label a person with a diagnosis, they may, have to face their old memories, which cause the initial problem. People with disabilities, you have to understand. Very often when when a person with, you see visually impaired people who may be walking on the road, and you may want to, help them. Chalo, main leke jata hu. Chalo, main leke. So you appreciate the fact that they are active individuals and they may have their own choices. So rather than just telling them, chalo, I'll help you cross the road, you ask him, do you need my help to cross the road? So you allow them to make their choices rather than you deciding for them. You demonstrate empathy. I won't say sympathy is not important, but more than the emotional concern only, an emotional understanding of their condition is more important. You put themselves in your shoes. And this is what will make you as a physician more special than anyone. If you understand them by putting yourself in their shoes. So maintain a good eye contact, have a good posture, affect. I know once you go in your second, third year, fourth year internship, third year and internship, we have 4 years. So you will have those long working hours, you will be frustrated, irritable, but still you have to understand that the person coming to you has a greater problem than you have. Okay? So have a good tone and affect in your voice. Let them understand that you are concerned here before telling, so that you understand the patient's issue before you telling, and only after that you give your response as an individual.